All right, welcome everybody. Happy New Year. Hope everybody's New Year's off to a good start here. So this is the first webinar of 2022. We're going to be talking about a new feature we've added called Google Sheet Links. It's a pretty cool feature. I've been playing with it for a little while here. I'd love to see maybe some examples of what y'all can do. Hopefully you're all, or some of you are like these, Google Sheet wizards and can come up with amazing stuff. I would love to see examples down the road. But for today, I'll show you how to set this up and how it works. All right, let me get my screen share going here. All right, so here we are. So what are we talking about? Like I said, we're talking about this feature called Google Sheet Link. Let me just show you a quick example of where you're going to find this. So from any of your custom reports, report views, a couple of standard reports, you're going to find under the print button a link here called Google Sheet Link. That will have something that copies to your clipboard that you can then paste into Google, and this report data will show up over there. It's pretty cool. But before I show you all the cool stuff, let's talk about getting this to work. Because if you click on this link now, you might get an error. Actually, most likely we'll get an error because we had to change and reset a couple things to get this to work in this way. So one of the things to do is we do have our help guide. So if you need to look for this, look for export to Google Sheets. You can do a search for it on our support site, support.workamajig.com. And this will kind of walk you through resetting the company and user tokens. So I will show you that right now. So what we need to do is we need to get into our system setup. So you might need an administrator to do this for you. So you navigate from the main menu, admin manager, system setup. From your system setup, you go under connections. From connections, there's API. So this is what we've used so far for being able to do API requests through other methods, not just what I'm going to show you today. But we've extended the feature that utilizing the API tokens, we can now export data dynamically in other ways, such as the Google Sheet link. But in order to do this, you're going to have to generate an API access token. So your system, this may be blank, for example, or if you see like, I think it's like double underscore or double equal bars, there's some of the old API tokens that are no longer compatible with this. So this is why you're going to have to maybe come in here and click generate new API access token. Doing that is going to create a whole new API access token here. Now, the thing to keep in mind is if you're using the API currently and you click this, well, you're going to have to go update all of your other APIs that you have connected because you've reset this. But as long as you don't have the kind of, again, it looks like a double equal sign or something like that. If as long as it doesn't have that in there, you can use the existing token. Okay. Now, this is also done at a user level. So you also need an API user token. Now, this is just showing you what your user token is if you happen to be here. But to set this or reset this, you do have to click on your name. And again, if you don't see API user token down here, you have to like click on something to say create a new token. But you can click on what's there and say new user token. Again, if your user token has that double equal sign or double underscore in the beginning, you do need to create a new user token as well. All right, so that's just kind of like the behind the scenes stuff, the techie stuff to get your IT people maybe to help you out with that. But ultimately, you just need to reset these API tokens. And now, once that is done, you are free to start copying that Google Sheet link. So as an example for today, I've created this custom report. In this custom report, I've laid out several examples of what kind of data are we bringing over. So I'm going to go and click edit here to show you what I've done. So in this custom report, I've created like a custom calculated date formatted column in Workamajig. I've got calculations of hours minus allocated hours, even have some like, replacing words. And so if you're used to doing SQL kind of coding, this may be more familiar. But the challenge, of course, is saying, well, maybe I don't know SQL, or I want to just take the raw data out. Okay, great. Then we don't have to deal with having these calculated fields in here. But also know that if you do have calculated fields, they will come over. The one caveat is you're not going to bring over the custom name headers, and dates get reset into the formatting. I'll address that again once we get there. So let me go back to the edit and just kind of show you one more time. Notice the field names, calculated column 1, and I have a custom caption here called date custom. So keep in mind that these captions do not come over. So you have to remember what calculated column 1, 2, and 3 are referring to once you get to the Google Sheet side. But that's why if you're using the data, just a data file, the names are, what they are. So it's more familiar. Okay. Additionally, groups don't come over, because really when you are exporting this to Google Sheet Link, it's really doing a CSV file. It's really what it's kind of doing behind the scenes. And so CSV is just simply rows. There is no grouping function in a CSV file. So anything that you have grouped in your report will not come over. So kind of keep that in mind as well. Like I said, I try to create an example with everything that you could do here. Okay, great. So once we have our report, our data that we want to take from Workamajig and manipulate into a Google Sheet, we just simply click print, click on copy Google Sheet link. Once I do that, it says, okay, has been copied to your clipboard. Simply go into your Google Sheet that is blank. This is my example here. And in that first field, you can just simply paste right into that first field. Oh, I got to do the Control-Alt-V. Hang on a second here. There we go. And now all my data is here. Notice this first field, when it's highlighted, it does say the field name that's in Workamajig. But if you notice behind the scenes, it's using this import data with the API with your token. So it knows to pull from that source. So it's dynamically pulling from that source, which is really cool. It brings over all the data as is. And we can see, notice how there's calculated column 1, calculated column 2 and 3. So it doesn't bring over those custom captions we had in Workamajig, unfortunately, but we at least still have the reference of which calculated column it is. So keep that in mind when you bring it over, know what that column is referring to. Now we can see my calculated columns brought over where I was able to rename stuff. I was able to do a math calculation. However, if you notice these first 2 columns are date fields, notice how they're formatted. So the formatting is not recognized instantly on this import feature. So if we're trying to have the date field, be recognized as a date, after you do set this up initially here, all you have to do is just simply highlight that column of the date and then say format. And under number, you can see everything's set to automatic by default. So if you want to force it, you can say, oh, hey, this is a date field. So let me put the date in there. And it just transposes whatever the data was into now a date format. So that's the only thing that I've come across anyway. If you all come across something else, let us know. But that's the main one I've come across, is just that the date column needs to get kind of reformatted in the Google side. But now that you've formatted that column, it'll be formatted from now on. So you only have to do it once, which is nice. So that's just getting the data over here. Pretty straightforward, pretty cool. You can kind of manipulate from here. Now, really where I think the power of this is coming from is not just that, oh, we have our data here, but what else can we do with it? So this is where now it's on kind of y'all's side of, well, what can you do with it? I would love to see some examples, like I was saying earlier. But what we could do is you could have this be, one sheet of data. You could create another sheet and have another sheet, we'll say sheet 2, and you could paste another custom report of data here. And so if you want to do like a data compare of the 2 sheets, well, you could do that in the Google side, where in Workamajig, we don't allow you to kind of mix and match reports. But here you could take 2 different reports and make a 3rd sheet where you combine the data results of those 2 sheets. So hopefully you all are gurus on that side, because I've tried playing around with like the array function and things like that, and I haven't quite figured it all out yet. So I will I will wait to see what kind of awesome things I see created in the future. For now, what I've been able to figure out is that once you have a data like this, well, there's a couple of things. If this is going to be something that you want to be visible to others, it's all in Google at this point. So you could have a sheet that references this sheet for the data side of things. You do have the ability also to have this Google Sheet auto refresh. So that's even cooler, because now we can say, well, okay, well, not only is the data here, but the data gets updated. Now, if we get into, I believe it's under File, I believe it's under then Settings, Calculation, there we go. So I can say, oh, hey, recalculate. It says on change, but that doesn't apply here. The way this this particular import of data works is that it can refresh once an hour. I know there's an every minute option, but it doesn't work. Trust me. So you can set it to say, okay, change and update once an hour and save that. So that way, if I have something pulling from this data source, it'll be live data at least once an hour. So this just auto refreshes. You can kind of set it and done however you set up your reports on the Google side. Again, pretty cool, huh? The other functionality I've kind of played with a little bit here is that you could, make your own pivot table in the Google side. Now, we do have pivot table functions in Workamajig, and if there's requests for that, maybe I'll talk a little bit about that. But what I've discovered is we just simply highlight this entire sheet, and we can just kind of say under data, I'm trying to remember, I always forget where these options are. I want to turn this into a pivot table. Okay, it's under insert. So I want to insert a pivot table. I've highlighted this entire table just to have it. Pivot table, I'm going to insert a new sheet. It's selecting this entire sheet 1 here. We'll say create. So we have sheet number 2, which creates a pivot table. And then it has some suggestions here that kind of runs you through. For today's discussion, I'll simply add a row. We want to add a row for, let's do username. So there's all the names that were in my time analysis report in sheet 1. And then I want to do one column for, let's say, the date worked. There we go. So now we have the dates worked. We have our usernames, and our value will add, and we will put actual hours worked. Give it a moment, there it populates. So you're able to create some kind of a quick, pivot table functionality, just simply using, what is available here. But I can only imagine what some of you might be able to make, again, combining multiple reports to create one report, whether you use the pivot table function, array functions, tons of other features within here. But it just opens up a whole new world, I think, for the reporting side of Workamajig's data. So that is kind of what I have for you. Let me just go back real quick into Workamajig. So again, just to reiterate, if you have a custom report, so we have my custom reports here. I got my custom report. We open it up. Once I have it established, I can just click print and again, copy the Google Sheet link. Once you've copied it, what's kind of nice is that even if you add columns after the fact, eventually they'll show up in the Google Sheet as well. So just keep that in mind. If you have it set to automatically refresh once an hour, it'll update on the Google side with those changes. So be careful. If you remove a column, it's going to get removed in the Google Sheet too upon that recalculation. Now, like I said, this shows up in your custom reports. This does show up also in your project views. I'm sorry, your views overall. So from your global search, you click on the views tab, for example, you go to, let's say, projects. I'm going to say active projects. So here's my active project report view. Again, if I click print, I'm going to get an option here to copy the Google Sheet link. So I have the ability to do that with custom reports, report views, and a handful of standard reports. One in particular would be like your project profit and loss multi-view. If I open up this report, it's going to be a little bit different. There's going to be the Google financial link will be here on kind of before you run the report. So just keep that in mind. You're going to want to set your settings first, all up here that you want. I would even run the report once to make sure it looks the way you want, and then just simply close out of the report. Your settings are still here, and then when you copy that link, it'll have all of those settings kind of built in and factored into this this link here. So yeah, I could even just, copy that link. Link's been copied. Go back to my Google spreadsheet here and just paste in that report. Now this one may take a little bit longer because it's pulling a lot more data. Yeah, this one may take a little bit longer. Like I said, imported content is empty. Okay. Oh, maybe I had to run the report once at least. My apologies. Oh, no, there's no data in here in my report at all. So this is because this is like my test site. I haven't like done anything on here in a long time. So let me just put it for all. I wouldn't recommend doing all on your reports, by the way, because you probably have lots and lots of data. There we go. So that one pulls data. Let me just go back, copy the link. And what's nice is if you're in your Google Sheet, and what you can do is if you want to force or instant refresh, because like I said, it'll refresh once an hour, but if you need to refresh it right now for what you're testing, just simply blank out that first field. That'll remove everything that you would see in the sheet, and then you just paste it back into that first field. So this time it's loading. Give it a moment. Moment longer. There we go. Okay, so like I said, pulled in a lot of data. As you can see, there's a lot of data here. You could, whatever limits that Google Sheets has is the limits you would have. But I can only imagine, again, what could be made from this information. So that is a couple of the examples. You got, again, a handful of standard reports. It's just going to look a little bit different because on the run report screen, you got to kind of scroll down and get to the copy Google link here versus it being from a print button. That's the main difference. All right. Well, I'm going to go and look at the chat here and see what people have been saying. And we can see what we can answer over on this side here. So hang on one second with me. Let's scroll through here. What do we got? Looks like, well, I answered some of these questions earlier on, how to get the system set up. That was from your main menu under Admin Manager. Again, if you don't have access to this, then you're going to want to talk to one of your power users, i.e. a Workamajig administrator on your end that has access to this area of the system. So get into your Admin Manager, go to System Setup. From System Setup, you're going to go to Connections. You're going to go to API. Under API, you're going to be generating those new access tokens for not only the system, but for each user. Let's see, do you have an org of these steps? Well, we do have our help guide. Again, you can go to support.workamajig.com, do a search for export to Google Sheets, and you'll find this guide that will walk you through all of the steps I have just gone through. Let's see, what else we got? Yeah, so this recording will be shared on our support site here. So it takes a couple of days to process it, get it formatted and ready and all that good stuff. But once it is ready, you will see it from our main page, just the main support.workamajig.com page. You will see a link here called webinars. Just simply click on that. Right now there's our training webinars, and we'll have our, since this is the first webinar of the year, we don't have a 2022 section built yet. We will get that built in time for this video to be ready, but you'll see 2022 webinars. You would basically click on that link. The webinars for the year will populate here, and you can even play them within the screen here. And there you go. Let's see. Will this work with OneDrive shared with Excel files? Well, this is a Google feature, so I don't know what you're able to muster to get data from Google to Excel. I'm not sure. So I just know this is a Google only feature at the moment. Let's see, I just tested with a custom report. The dates pasted over to Sheets are not the same as the dates that I ran in the filtered view. Okay, so yeah, Tracy, if you're having some issues or questions with that, we'll have to troubleshoot that on the side. So definitely, shoot an email to support@workamajig.com. Let us know what custom report you were experimenting with. I'd love to kind of see what you made and what you're getting as an end result. There could be a variety of things. Again, the date fields are going to be the kind of the oddballs when it comes to this report feature, because again, it wants to like format it into like this like plain text. So make sure that once you do have the data in here, you highlight that date column. You get into the format under number. Again, it's set to automatic. So you'll want to change that to date. Now you're saying that the dates were coming in a wrong order. Well, we'll have to, again, that might be a little bit more of a investigation of what is going on specifically there. All right, on to Miguel. Can I get a link to this recording? Oh, yes, I just kind of specified that. So we'll move on. Where can you set up the hourly updates again? Oh, for sure. So from File, of the Google Sheet, from File under Settings, this is where you can go under the Calculation tab to then say and specify, hey, recalculate this every hour. Now, again, I know there's other options here, but this will only work once an hour, no matter how you set it. But by default, it's off for all new sheets. So you do have to turn that on. All right. Yeah, Tracy, with the dates thing, yeah, feel free to, again, send an email to support@workamajig.com. I will see if I can grab that email from whoever your account manager is and take a look and see what I can find out for you. All right. Well, I knew this would be a little bit of a short webinar today, just because it's just kind of a one and done kind of a connection feature. But I will hang on here for more another moment, unless there's any questions here. So Suzanne, you're not seeing any of the recordings from the support site. Well, I'm looking at the support site myself. So here are the prior webinars. We just don't have a 2022 section built yet, because this just happens to be the first webinar of the year. Let's see. So Zoe, you're at a small company. We don't have like a power user. Do you need help with the API token? Well, I mean, somebody there should be an administrator level of access in the system and can reset those tokens. The guide pretty much walks you through how to do it. But again, if you have questions, and you need more assistance, we'll be more than happy to help you out kind of on a one-on-one basis with your account manager. All right, so it looks like we just have other questions about kind of the webinar being uploaded, things like that. I'm not, Toby, I'm not sure what you mean by the org. Are you just oh, I'm sorry, you're not saying org, you're saying QRG. So I'm not sure what that is referring to. So Toby, if you want to expand that out into your chat, I'll be more than happy to answer that. Does anyone else have any other questions regarding the Google Sheet link or custom reports in general? Oh, quick reference guide. Okay, thanks, Toby. I appreciate the clarification. So from our support site, support.workamajig.com, you can use this site and do a search for all kinds of features of our system. You can definitely dive into our custom report section, which this particular guide is located, export to Google Sheets. And again, this will just kind of walk you through resetting the tokens, how to copy the link, paste the link, formatting dates. Again, that's the big one that you might run into in the Google Sheet side. So hopefully that helps you out. Let's see, Kate, you said, can you give us some examples of what this is most helpful for clients? Well, that's a great question, and I hope you can answer that. We're always trying to expand Workamajig and give more flexibility to the system, to the data, and this is just more of a response to requests for being able to manipulate data further. There are ways to manipulate the data in Workamajig. We have pivot tables in Workamajig. There's ways to make calculated columns. We have a lot of functionality in Workamajig. Sometimes it may not be as user friendly, depending on the complexity. So we know that users are more familiar with Excel / Google Sheets. So we have this ability to have the Google Sheet now export your data export right into a Google Sheet. So that way you can do the manipulation that you're more familiar with over there. Plus, you then have the advantage of being able to combine tables together into one, where that's something that you can't do in Workamajig by design. All right, so Toby, you found it. Awesome, awesome. Let's see, Joan, is it possible to set up a test file to work with to get to know the software? Yeah, I mean, you can just simply set up a custom report. So I apologize if I kind of didn't show that aspect of it. If you do have access to custom reports and you have security rights for this, you can most certainly go in here to the report center. How do I get to the report center, you may ask? Well, you go to the main menu, you click on everyone, and you go to the report center. Now, again, I could do this with our report views. It's not just limited to custom reports. So you do have the views if you have access here. And for example, you have access to your active project list. So most everyone has access to the views, but not everyone's going to necessarily have access to custom reports. So that is a good point to make. But if you want to take this data into Google, for example, and say, okay, let's take the active project list. Let's go to print, copy the Google Sheet link. Link has been copied to my clipboard. Go back into your Google Sheet. I'm going to add a new sheet here. And I'm just simply going to paste in that first corner, Control V. I'm going to paste in that clipboard. And there's my active project list. So pretty quick, pretty easy. Just play with whatever file you have there. Now, once it's in Google, anything you do here is not going to affect what's in Workamajig. So that's a good point to make, is that you're able to play with this as much as you want on the Google side, but you're not going to cause any kind of issues or you're not going to change any data in Workamajig. It's a one-way street. So. All right, well, awesome. Let's see. Is the feature limited to admins? No, not necessarily. I mean, it's all based on security right if you have access to that report. So it would take an administrator to set up the API keys. Without that, it's not going to work. So they do have control over being able to, instill the API tokens or not. So that is kind of an admin function, I guess. But if you have the ability to do that, if you're the admin, like some smaller agencies, I see everyone being an admin, which is a little interesting. But if you can get in there, and set this up, you can. So, but beyond that, it's all about, can you access this report? To which point can you then click the print button? If you have access to the report, you're going to see all the options from printing. There's not going to be anything holding you back, other than if the API token wasn't set up, you would not see the copy Google Sheet link there. All right, Miguel, that was a great question. Well, anyone else got any other questions regarding custom reports, Google Sheets, anything similar to the liking? Well, I think we're getting good here. We're wrapping it up. All right, well, very good. So I will just kind of end it here and say I appreciate everyone joining today. Again, this is the first webinar of the year, so I'm excited I got to get first dibs on that. But again, if you have any questions with this, if you want to send us some examples, if you're trying to troubleshoot something, just feel free to send an email to support@workamajig.com. My name is Rod Ripley. So if you do want to forward that my way, just put that kind of in the email subject or the body of your email. Hey, can we forward this to Rod from the webinar? I will definitely take a look at it, review it, and we will definitely be helping you out from there. But I would love to see some examples from y'all of what you're able to do on the Google Sheet side. Because maybe we'll put some examples on our help guide of what our users are able to do and other ways of using it. So I will end it here, but I thank you all for your time. Oh, put the email in the chat? Sure, Toby, I'll do that. support@workamajig.com. Let's see. There you go. Now, the chat would disappear when I turn this off, so I'm going to go ahead and turn off the recording, but that way you can still see the chat. I'm going to turn off the recording here. Thank you very much again, everyone, for joining. Appreciate it.